It's 9:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and I think I'll just sum it up in the best way I can. Well, that sucked. That sucked.
Ooh.
That sucked. We got a lot to get to today, and if you want to keep up with Johnny B, he's on Twitter, Bozeman World, Bozeman World. He's on Facebook. Again, I love that guy. Never met anybody like him.
Legend.
Yep. And Johnny took me under his wing, showed me the ropes 3 years ago when I was starting to produce here. And I'm eternally grateful for him, and I'm eternally grateful for that friendship. That being said, we got a lot to get to today. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. Thank you to our sponsors. I know Johnny mentioned that earlier. We have fearless sponsors, and if you want to shop with people that don't hate you, shop with the people that advertise on WTN, like Better Water LLC. Justin Trudeau is considering resigning. Have you heard this? The governor of Canada, the Mr. Mayor.
Really?
He's considering resigning. It all started really hitting the fan last night. And it really is off the back of Donald J. Trump's tariff threat.
Interesting.
It's a wild story. And, listen, Justin Trudeau is a terrible prime minister. He's ruined the country of Canada. And he may or may not be the illegitimate son of Fidel Castro. I mean, listen, just do a Google search yourself. Have you ever done a Google search like that?
I have. It's wild.
I made you do that, right?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
He does.
It's wild.
Trudeau, so there's always I don't mean to get off on a tangent, but there were these rumors that Justin Trudeau's mom was, how do I put this delicately? Wasn't as monogamous as one would like. Is that the best way I can put it? And if you look at the timeline on Trudeau, it just so happened that his mom was in Cuba, right around the time.
In old Cuba,
right around the time that he could have been conceived. It's pretty. I mean, listen, just look at the pictures of young Castro and Justin Trudeau. So anyway, this all goes down last night. Justin Trudeau's deputy prime minister, Chrystia Freeland, announced her resignation as finance minister on Monday. And then it was reported that Trudeau either was considering resigning or just disbanding parliament. And it's been reported that all of the MPs are in their seats awaiting the prime minister's news. Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre, he announced that he's considering bringing a vote of no confidence against the prime minister later on Monday, and said that the Trudeau government needs to table its fall economic statement and trigger a non-confidence vote in the House of Commons that could bring down the Liberal government. Listen, it's just wild to watch this play out because it really comes back to Donald Trump saying, if you don't secure your northern border, the northern border of America, I'll put a 25% tariff on all these goods. And then Justin Trudeau flying down to Mar-a-Lago to say, if you put $100 billion, if you cost us $100 billion in tariffs, Canada can't survive. And then Trump making everybody laugh at the table. And he said, well, if $100 billion is going to ruin you, you can become the 51st state and I'll let you be the governor. And since then, it's been all bad for Trudeau. It's been bad for a while. He lost the faith of the Canadians a long time ago. But it's fun to watch this play out in real time. This is the leader of the Conservative Party in Canada, Pierre Poilievre.
You saw the Christmas holiday to be interrupted by a federal election campaign?
I think right now Canadians' Christmas holidays are being interrupted by the NDP Liberal hell they're living under, lining up 2 million people at food banks, 1,400 homeless encampments, a doubling of gun crime, the worst inflation in 40 years, our 6 consecutive quarters of shrinking per capita GDP, $500 billion of investment leaving for the United States. Parents are tossing and turning at night because we have the most indebted households by far in the G7. That's the real hell that is interrupting people's Christmas spirit right now. And I think the best Christmas present we could give Canadians is to let them choose a new common sense conservative government that will bring home Canada's promise so that anyone from anywhere can do anything, hard work, gets them a powerful paycheck and pension that buys affordable food, homes, and wonderful Christmas gifts to go under the tree.
You know, this is going to be labeled as Canadian news, but I do think that this is very much American news. And what you're seeing is the ripple effect from Donald Trump across the hemisphere. And I love to see it. I love to see it. Even Canada's new Democratic Party leader, Jagmeet Singh, has called on Justin Trudeau to resign from office. And he quite literally highlights Donald Trump bullying him as part of the reason.
People are having a very hard time paying for groceries. Young people can't find affordable housing. And beyond that, we have the threat of Trump's tariffs. And that's putting hundreds of thousands of jobs in Canada in danger. And instead of dealing with issues that are important for Canadians, the Prime Minister is dealing with fighting in his own party. It's clear that the Prime Minister cannot continue. Will he resign today, yes or no?
I mean, listen, I don't know how you spell it out more clear than that. This is a direct result of the threat of tariffs via Donald Trump. Donald Trump did weigh in on all of this, and he weighed in a way that only Donald Trump could. He blasts the governor of Canada. He says on Truth Social, the great state of Canada is stunned as the finance minister resigns or was fired from her position by Governor Justin Trudeau. Her behavior was totally toxic and not at all conducive to making deals which are good for the very unhappy citizens of Canada. She will not be missed. He said, the governor of Canada. I love that the troll continues. Make no mistake about it. Mean tweets are going to save Canada. You got to love it. You got to love it. And Trudeau is just using the same playbook that failed here for Kamala Harris. He is. He's labeling the Conservatives as anti-Canadian and betting against Canada.
Pierre Poilievre is uninterested in building more homes, delivering vital supports, creating good jobs, or even, as we saw with his opposition to our GST tax break, he's opposed to even cutting taxes. That's a given with the Conservative Party. But what makes Poilievre different is that he's willing to actively bet against Canadians and Canada. He says Canada is broken while actually trying his damnedest to break it. See, we're not living in simple times. The world is increasingly complex, unstable, and dangerous. And in this new global reality, we must all pull together.
I mean, again, listen, Trudeau is using the same playbook that failed for Kamala Harris and the liberals in America. Best of luck to you, sir. But the gaslighting doesn't work anymore. And Canada's in a different position than America. I mean, in America, we have free speech on the internet thanks to X and Elon Musk. In Canada, I mean, their internet is heavily, heavily censored, and they're still up against it. They're still dealing with this. Trudeau is an absolute beta soy boy. There's no way around it. And as he was leaving Parliament last night, the House of Commons, whatever you call it, he's walking out, and he's being heckled on the street by Canadians.
Prime Minister, are you going to remain in office, sir?
No, what gives you the right to continue? What gives you the right to stay in office? Thank you. You failed Canada. You've ruined our country. You're done. Walk away. You don't have an ounce of your father's integrity. At least he walked in the snow. You've ruined this country.
I mean, you got to love it. You got to love the way he's being accosted in public. You'll understand that we're winning when these liberal elites can no longer walk the streets without hearing from the citizens that they rule over.
Everyone around you is running from you. You're abandoning you. Christian Freeland, Sean Fraser, they've all left you. It's time for you to go. It's time for Canada to have an election. You're not the king.
You're not the king, says the angry citizens of Canada. And when I heard Justin Trudeau being heckled like that, I was like, whoo, that is spicy. That's rough. And I was like, has Biden been heckled like that? I understand that, he gets Hamas protesters all the time. That's one thing. And then I did a quick Google search. I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot about the hundreds of times Biden has been heckled like that. How'd that work out for Joe? You lose the faith of your citizens. It doesn't work out at all. Again, This comes off the fact that Trudeau is an absolute weak soy boy of a leader. It'll be the first time in many, many years we don't have a Castro in power in the Western Hemisphere. But it is going to be fun to watch the implosion in Canada. Meanwhile, in America, we actually have strong leadership once again. It's nice to say. And Donald Trump, fresh off the heels of winning that lawsuit against ABC, or settling out of court, should I say, with George Stephanopoulos and getting $15 million as a down payment for his presidential library, Donald Trump has another lawsuit planned. Another one, and I'm looking forward to this one. Donald Trump said yesterday that he plans to sue the Des Moines Register over that final Ann Seltzer poll, calling it election interference and fraud.
I'm going to be bringing one against the people in Iowa, their newspaper, which had a very, very good pollster who got me right all the time. And then just before the election, she said I was going to lose by 3 or 4 points, and it became the biggest story all over the world because I was going to win Iowa by 20 points. The farmers loved me, and I loved the farmers. And it was interesting the way she did it. She brought it down 2 weeks before. She said I was going to only win by 4. That was a big story. But that was good because she brought it down from like 22 points to 4 or whatever the number was, way up. Way up, an easy win. Never even thought to go there. I respect them, I love them, and they understand there's no reason to go there because she brought it from way up, walk away, which it was, and it turned out to be in the election too, by the way. It was a win by many, many points. And then she brought it down very smartly to 4 a couple of weeks before, and everyone said, wow, that's amazing. He's only up by 4 points. Then she brought it down to where I was down by 3 or 4, whatever the number she used. And that was the Des Moines Register, and it was their parent. And in my opinion, it was fraud, and it was election interference.
I love that Donald Trump is not sitting on his hands and that he's on the offensive. And there was much to be said about that poll. I know that there was much said about that poll on this station. Listen, I looked at Ann Seltzer, and I thought it looked like a payday on her way out. And she did. She retired soon thereafter. Weird. What a coincidence. They said that Trump was going to lose by 3, and then he won by like 16. It's insane. It's insane. And I want to point out, when he's talking about the Des Moines Register and suing them, he did drop the word parent company, which would happen to be the USA Today network. So it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. More lawsuits. This is what it looks like when you don't have soy boys in your leadership. This is what it looks like when you have good leadership going on the offensive. I'm here for it. Trump was on the offensive all day yesterday. And he said, but for the most part, while everybody fought him in 2016, now everybody wants to be his friend.
One of the big differences between the first term, everybody was fighting me. In this term, everybody wants to be my friend. I don't know. My personality changed or something.
Yeah, no, I think everybody was fighting him right up until the moment that they called Pennsylvania, and then they went, damn, we should probably change our game plan. Now the fight that's in front of us it looks like it's really going to be up against the rhinos, right? Because we have control of the House, we have control of the Senate, we got the Supreme Court. It seems like we're going to be our own worst enemy, and Trump brought that up yesterday. He said, listen, if these senators, if they're unreasonable, well, you know what's going to happen to them? They're going to be primaried.
Should senators who oppose your nominees, your cabinet nominees, should they be primaried?
If they are unreasonable, I'll give you a different answer, an answer that you'll be shocked to hear. If they're unreasonable, if they're opposing somebody for political reasons or stupid reasons, I would say has nothing to do with me. I would say they probably would be primary. But if they're reasonable, fair, and really disagree with something or somebody, I can see that happening. But I do believe that if they're I think we have great people. I think we have a great group of people. Pam has been unbelievably received. You take a look, Pam Bondi. So many have been just unbelievably received. I think Pete Hegseth is making tremendous strides over the last week. He's going to be great. Look, he went to Princeton, he went to Harvard, he was a great student there, but he really was, from the first day I met him, all he wanted to talk about was military. He's just a military guy. I think it's a natural. This was my idea. And, Pete Hegseth gave up a lot.
He did. And Pete Hegseth is still fighting to win that nomination. I think he's going to get through. RFK was at Capitol Hill yesterday fighting to secure his spot as HHS director. I'll bring you the latest from RFK yesterday in D.C. when we get back. It's 9:22 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Coming up, new charges for an alleged serial killer in New York. Also, we've got the latest information about the Christian school shooting in Wisconsin. Those stories at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan Jones. It's 9:28 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. RFK had a busy day yesterday. He was in D.C., arriving to meet with senators to be confirmed as the HHS secretary. I'm a huge fan of RFK. And as he's walking in there, man, it was like he was like a member of the Beatles, the way the press was mobbing this guy.
Yeah, keep moving, keep moving.
He's just swarmed and surrounded. All of this was on C-SPAN. And he just calmly moves on, does his thing. And new polling is coming out. An overwhelming amount of Americans support RFK Jr.'s food industry reforms. Yeah. I completely agree. Listen to this poll, though. There's a new poll out, and it has 74% of the country, specifically almost 8 in 10 Americans, said they support requiring nutrition education in federally funded medical schools. 74% support banning certain additives, including dyes, from the nation's food supply. Banning food additives has been widespread support across the political spectrum. The poll finds that 74% of Democrats and 81% of Republicans support this plan. 66% of Americans, including 71% of Democrats, want the federal government to increase restrictions on the use of pesticides in agricultural products. They want to ban processed foods in public school lunches, supported by Republicans, 66%, Democrats, 68%. Listen, this is one of the things I'm the most excited for with Trump's administration. We have an actual chance for generational change here. And it could happen in our lifetimes. It could happen before we know it. Other countries are already banning these ingredients. Europe doesn't even use pesticides on their food. This stuff is going to be game-changing. And RFK is bringing all that to the table. We're already seeing the ripple effect out. The fact that we can even have these conversations right now and not be looked at like we have three heads is fantastic. This conversation has been moved mainstream. So much so that it's even affecting one Tennessee city in particular. This city's thinking about ditching the fluoride in the water supply. I know. It made my ears perk up, too. I'll tell you about it after Joan Jones's newscast, which happens right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, hello there, 9:30 now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We have some severe weather perhaps moving in tonight. You'll want to know about that and the full forecast coming up in a couple of minutes. Alleged serial killer Rex Heuermann, the so-called Gilgo Beach killer, is being charged with a 7th murder today in Suffolk County, New York.
Valerie Mack was identified through DNA. Prosecutors were able to finally identify her. Heuermann was named a suspect in her death back in June. Now they've been able to formally connect him, they say.
ABC correspondent Aaron Katursky there. He says Valerie Mack, like the other victims, was a prostitute. Online postings attributed to the shooter in yesterday's deadly attack on a school in Madison, Wisconsin, point to a troubled teenager with extremist views. 15-year-old Natalie Samantha Rupnow is thought to have taken a handgun into Abundant Life Christian School, shot and killed a teacher and a classmate before fatally shooting herself.
This is Jim Ryan. The 2022 massacre in Uvalde, Texas has become a police training manual for how not to handle a school shooting. 77 minutes passed from the first 911 call to the moment the gunman was killed. Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes says the training in his department is clear.
Stop the killing, stop the dying, find the shooter, find the person who's responsible, deal with them, then treat the victims.
In this case, the suspect had already shot herself before officers arrived. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Here in Tennessee, lawmakers agreed last year after the Covenant School shooting to set aside money for school resource officers in every school. And another law mandates that any school door that leads to the outside must be locked when students are present. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 9:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Chris Hand, and I want to talk to you about my buddy Shane Ring over at Cover Nash. If you need health insurance, You got to talk to Shane because this guy has over 20 years of experience in health insurance, and he can shop the entire market for you to find the best plan. He has over 75 different companies to shop from and every type of plan available in the market. He can help you no matter what your income or health situation is. So don't let yourself or someone you know get taken advantage of by call center agents in the limited, overpriced health coverage. Nobody wants that. No. Shane can easily be saving you 30 to 60% on your monthly premiums. Easily. I've seen it happen. And many of these plans can even pay you when you use them. Doesn't that sound good? Sounds good to me. So go ahead and give Shane Ring a call today and let him know that Chris Hand sent you. He'll show you how much you could be saving on quality coverage right now. You can reach Shane at 615-465-0023, or you can hit his website, covernash.com. The phone number, one more time, 615-465-0023, or hit his website to book an appointment with Shane Ring. Get a quality plan managed by you, not the government, covernash.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spice and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
It's 9:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Talking about RFK, he was on Capitol Hill yesterday, meeting with senators to get that confirmation locked up, get approved to be the HHS director. I think he's going to get through. You look at the polling and the amount of Democrats and Republicans that support the ideas that RFK are bringing to the table, astronomical, overwhelming majority in both groups, which is wild. I can't think of another topic where you have a majority, overwhelming majority of both Republicans and Democrats agreeing. Is there anything else that you can think that we agree on? Honestly, this is the kind of unity that Donald Trump is bringing to America with these kind of picks. I'll run through these poll numbers again. 66% of Americans, including 71% of Democrats, 66% of Republicans, want the federal government to increase restrictions on the use of pesticides and agricultural products. This is what they do in Europe. In fact, Trump said yesterday during the press conference, this is one of the excuses why Europe won't even buy our farm products. Wild, right? Banning processed foods in public school lunches, also supported by a majority of Republicans, 66%, and Democrats, 68%. These are the ideas that RFK is bringing to the table. This is the crazy loon that the media wants to tell you about with his wacky ideas being supported by Republicans and Democrats. You know who doesn't support RFK Jr.? Big food, big pharma, and all of the guys that advertise on mainstream media. Isn't it weird that you only hear negative things about RFK Jr. on mainstream media? Weird. It's wild. 2/3 of Americans, adults and children, suffer from chronic health issues. 50 years ago, that number was less than 1%. We've gone from 1% to 66%. That's RFK, a quote from him. This is the mission that he's on. He was swarmed yesterday on Capitol Hill by reporters. Everybody wants to hear from him. And you know what? The ripple effects of RFK are already being felt. And they're being felt close to home here. A lot of the stuff that RFK brings to the table is just questions. Can we just ask questions? Well, those questions are now becoming mainstream conversations. And these questions used to only exist on fringe areas of the internet. And I love that we can have the conversation. That's all I want. And in Johnson City, Tennessee, I honestly believe this is because of RFK Jr. We're now having a debate over fluoridation of the water supply. They say the debate over fluoridation reignited after statements from RFK Jr., President-elect Trump's nomination for Secretary of Health and Human Services. On January 20th, the Trump White House will advise all U.S. water systems to remove fluoride from public water. RFK put that on Twitter. Said fluoride is an industrial waste associated with arthritis, bone fractures, bone cancer, IQ loss, neurodevelopment disorders, and thyroid disease. Florida's Surgeon General has also issued guidance on this. It was November 22nd. He issued guidance about a possible neuropsychiatric risk associated with fluoride exposure. Do you hear ABC talking about this? Do you hear CBS talking about this? What about NBC? MSNBC? CNN? No. No, you don't. They just paint RFK as a loon. Florida Surgeon General said due to the neuropsychiatric risk associated with fluoride exposure, particularly in pregnant women and children, and the wide availability of alternative sources of fluoride for dental health, the state Surgeon General recommends against community water fluoridation. Again, that's Dr. Joseph Ladapo. He is the Florida Surgeon General. Smart guy. And what he says is really what you need to pay attention to. A lot of people are going to go, oh, we need fluoride in the water because our teeth. We got to save our teeth. There's so many other options, and many studies show that ingesting it actually doesn't help, but its topical application does. So if you're a big fan of fluoride, then by all means, use your fluoridated mouthwash, use your fluoridated toothpaste, go to your dentist, get a fluoride application, and you'll be good. You'll be good to go. But the problem is the effect it has on kids. Listen, I'll be perfectly honest with you. We use fluoride-free toothpaste. We do. Because when it's ingested, it's not exactly good for you. And what do kids do with toothpaste? Well, they swallow it. They swallow the toothpaste. So we use fluoride-free. That being said, when we go to the dentist and they want to do the topical fluoride on the teeth, that I'm not a huge fan of that, but I'm not completely against it. Everything in moderation, right? Just dumping it into our water supply doesn't exactly feel like moderation to me. Now in Tennessee, state lawmakers down there in Johnson City are questioning the benefits of fluoridation in water, and I say good. Senator Rusty Crowe, Republican out of Johnson City, said, I think there's going to be legislation this year that's going to possibly try to recommend what Florida is recommending. I love it, and I'm here for it. Let's make it happen. One northern Tennessee town is considering eliminating fluoride from the water. The Woodland Utility District will hold a meeting today, and the authority is expected to vote on it. According to a report from WTVF, Paul Clay, a Woodlawn water treatment operator, is quoted as saying he believes fluoride causes health problems in younger children. Now, again, listen, I'm not a scientist, and I'm not a doctor, and I'm not a fluoride expert, but I do have questions. And I think that these conversations being brought to the forefront are massively positive. The positive effects outweigh the negative effects, in my humble opinion. And I think we need to have more of these conversations. And I think RFK is going to get confirmed. And I think that these conversations are going to be forced on the American public. And they're going to be forced into the mainstream narrative. And again, I think he's going to get confirmed. Senator Rick Scott yesterday, he's completely supportive of what RFK is going to do, and he sounds pretty confident he's going to get confirmed as well.
I just had a great meeting with Robert Kennedy. I really appreciate his message. As you know, I used to be in the hospital business. I think it's great to have an HH secretary that is going to focus on the health of America, which is the most important thing we ought to do. I think for all of us, what we're thinking about is how do we stay healthy every day, and finally we're going to have an HH secretary that wakes up every day and says how do we keep everybody healthy in this country. He's going to have a lot of opportunity to do that. I'm completely supportive of what he wants to accomplish, and I wish him the best of luck.
Yeah, I mean, he sounds confident that RFK is going to be confirmed. We need to have some conversations, right? We just have to. The direction of this country and the health of this country and how much we spend on healthcare in this country needs to be addressed. And it doesn't seem like anybody's even been willing to entertain the conversation until now. Now, again, there's a lot of red-pilled moms out there who have been in this conversation for a long time, longer than I have. And to them, I say thank you, because those are the people that woke me up. And we need to make this conversation mainstream, because I think there's a lot of people that need to be woken up. You'll say, well, I ate Cheetos as a kid. And it's like, yeah, but the ingredients are completely different. Well, I had McDonald's as a kid and I turned out fine. Yeah, but the fries used to be fried in beef tallow. Now it's seed oils. And you look at the explosion of like intestinal cancers and all this stuff. I don't know if there's a correlation or not. I don't. But I do know we're not having the conversation yet. And it's a conversation that needs to be had. You can point in so many different directions and say the exact same thing. Whether it's the vaccine industry, the food industry, the agricultural industry. I mean, go down the line. You can say the exact same thing. This is a conversation that needs to be had, yet we haven't been able to have it. And we've been treated as lunatics by those in control of the mainstream narratives. I think RFK is going to be a net positive for this country, and I am all for it. There's another pick that Donald Trump is thinking about. This time, FEMA director. And the FEMA director that he's thinking about picking, it's going to shock you. Are you ready for this? It's a Democrat. Well, what? What? Is this guy going to have a tough time getting confirmed? Jared Moskowitz, Democrat out of Florida, is being reported as the top contender to be Trump's FEMA director. And listen, Congressman Moskowitz actually directed the Florida Division of Emergency Management under Governor DeSantis from 2019 to 2021. And if there's anything you can say about Florida and give them props for, it's how they respond to these emergencies. Like, it is top-notch, one of the best responses in the country. And this Democrat ran it. And I'm not going to knock him just for being a Democrat. If you can execute at the job, my man, executed the job. And listen, he executed at the job, plain and simple. But the ripple effects, if he does choose this Democrat, is going to be pretty fun. It's going to be pretty fun because this is a Democrat that won a seat in Florida. It's a purple seat. Let's be perfectly honest. And if that seat becomes vacant, well, that gets us a special election. So you're saying not only could we pick a Democrat who's qualified for the gig, but we could also open up a special election and get another Republican congressman in Florida? Sign me up, bro. Say no more. Say no more. It would be pretty insane. It would be pretty insane. Now, Jared Moskowitz beat the Republican Joe Kaufman 52-47. It was a pretty decisive victory. But could a new Democrat have as decisive of a victory after the mandate that we've seen? I don't know, man. I think that would be an uphill battle for them. And I think it would be just another example of 4D chess. We'll keep you updated on this story as we get more info, but I wouldn't be against it. I wouldn't. And again, it would be that team of rivals a la Lincoln, you know? Let's get a Democrat. I'm here for it. If the guy can execute. And by all accounts, his track record shows that he can execute. So I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at somebody that can do the job coming in and doing the job. Jared's not being hired because he checks a DEI box. He would be hired because he can do the job. I'm here for that. I am. Meritocracy, right? Isn't that what we want to get back to? Meritocracy. If this guy has the merits, he can get the job. I'm fine with that. It's been a wild couple days, man. Wild couple of days. We need qualified people in these positions, whether it's Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, Robert F. Kennedy, Kash Patel, or in this case, another Democrat, Jared Moskowitz, taking over FEMA. I hope the rumors are true. I do. I hope the rumors are true. Especially to see the kvetching from the left and how crazy that special election would be as we head into 2025. Wouldn't that be fun? I think it'd be fun. Sign me up. Sign me up. It's 9:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand here, and I want to tell you about my friends at the Glock store. If you've been on the naughty list, at least as far as getting the perfect gift, we want to let you know that the Glock store is there for you Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., including Christmas Eve until 5. Get yourself something nice, you know? Don't count on Santa if you're on the naughty list. Sometimes picking the perfect gift can be a bit daunting, especially if you're a person buying a Glock or for buying a Glock for a Glock guy or a Glock gal. You don't really know where to start, but you know your significant other loves a good Glock or Glock accessories. That's where the Glock store comes in. The Glock store isn't a gun department in a big box store where the guy helping you was selling tents earlier in the morning and now he's filling in for the firearms guy at the counter this afternoon. The Glock store personnel, they're your experts on Glocks. They'll know what questions to ask to help you select the perfect gift, which could be a Glock store gift card to use in-store or online, or it could be, Virginia, like a brand new Glock. And again, Virginia, this is my wife, if you're listening, the Glock store experts will help you figure out exactly which Glock I needed. I promise. And if you need a gift card, you can choose the amount. It can be applied to anything in the store, including those range sessions and the totally unique, totally secure Shoot 270 shooting rooms. And yes, I said rooms. Ask for a tour. You'll see why. Give the perfect gift this Christmas, a Glock store gift card. It's the Glock store, minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
After a school shooting in Madison, Wisconsin, a local safety expert says Tennessee schools need to adopt a new technology to keep kids safe. Also, why a local DA has been indicted by a grand jury. Those stories at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan Jones. 9:56 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Chris Hand. Yeah, that Madison school shooting, man, wild yesterday. I was walking out when the news broke, and it's just so heartbreaking how a monster can go into a school and take away people's family members just days before the holiday. So sad. Heartbreaking. But the Democrats have already jumped on this to push gun control. Shocker. Shocker. Now, the news coming out of Madison, not good. You know, we have people losing their lives. And it was a 15-year-old girl that did it. Heartbreaking. Now, they're working to determine a motive. How long do you think that will take? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. None of the questions that you want to be asked are being asked, though, again. And anytime one of these things happens, I have a lot of questions, including what kind of SSRIs was the shooter on? These are questions that demand answers. If you don't know what SSRIs are, they're selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. It's a class of drugs that they use to treat depression and other mental conditions, whether it's anxiety or OCD or panic disorders. That they use them for everything. They're your Prozacs, those kind of drugs. The mood alterers. I want to know what kind of drugs this girl was on. I want to. This is a question I have. She allegedly killed one teacher and one student at Abundant Life Christian Schools. 15-year-old girl. The AP originally cited her as 17 years old, but the more we're learning, 15-year-old girl. Democrats are already pushing gun control. If only there was a law that prevented minors from getting firearms. Oh, wait. That's right. That's right. It's already illegal. Oh. Didn't stop Joe Biden from getting out there and releasing a statement. And by Joe Biden, I mean the people behind him pulling the strings, because I don't think Joe Biden can have a coherent thought to release a statement like this. But he said, for immediate release, today, families in Madison, Wisconsin are grieving for the loss of those who were killed and wounded at Abundant Life Christian School. It's shocking and unconscionable. Completely agree. Completely agree. It's the next part where he loses me. We need Congress to act now. From Newtown to Uvalde, Parkland to Madison, to so many other shootings that don't receive attention, it is unacceptable that we are unable to protect our children from this scourge of gun violence. We cannot continue to accept it as normal. Every child deserves to feel safe in their classroom. Students across our country should be learning how to read and write, not having to learn how to duck and cover. He goes on to say, my administration has taken aggressive action to combat the gun violence epidemic. We passed the most significant gun safety legislation in nearly 30 years. I've taken more executive action to reduce gun violence than any other president in history, and I created the first ever White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention, but more is needed. Congress must pass common sense gun safety laws, universal background checks, a national red flag law, a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. We can never accept senseless violence that traumatizes children, their families, and tears entire communities apart. He jumped on this so quick, they didn't even know what the firearm was, I think, when they released this statement. Because he calls for a ban on assault weapons, the scary assault weapons. Well, rumor has it was a 9mm. He calls for tougher laws, but it's already illegal for a minor to have a firearm, right? So what are we going to do? We're not allowed to ask the questions that everybody wants to know. Like, was the shooter on something? What was the shooter's motivation? We'll talk about it a little bit more when we get back. It's 10:01 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
10:01, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Full forecast coming up in a couple of minutes. Officials in Madison, Wisconsin, beginning to piece together the motive behind Monday's deadly school shooting, and once again sparking a conversation about school safety.
This shooting once again bringing school safety into question, including whether metal detectors should be in all schools.
And believe me, they're going to figure out a way. If they're that determined, like she apparently was today, they'll figure out a way to get a weapon into the school.
At least 323 shootings have been reported at K-12 schools in the U.S. this year, down from 349 last year.
That's ABC's Lionel Moisey. The similarities to the Covenant school shooting are stark. It was a Christian school, it was a female shooter, and even the time of day is similar. The Tennessee legislature responded with money for school resource officers in every school in the state and new laws on locking school doors. But Patrick Bassnett with the Professional Educators of Tennessee wants even more safety measures.
There's new technology coming out that allows, it's kind of a card or a unit with a button on it that if an emergency is happening, hit that button and get response from local police.
The legislature would have to allocate more money to deploy that system. The drone mystery over the Northeast continues today as the FBI and Homeland Security tells Americans they're working to reassure everyone that the skies are safe.
Federal sources tell ABC News they're deploying infrared cameras and drone detection technology to ensure drones flying over New Jersey and New York aren't a threat. Local leaders briefed by the White House, including Mayor Mike Gaselli of Montvale, New Jersey.
We still don't know who the actors are. We don't know what they're doing and who's operating them. That's the unsettling part.
The government is looking at social media, videos, and photos to determine what these sightings could be.
That's ABC's Whit Johnson. A grand jury has indicted Van Buren and Warren County DA Chris Stanford on reckless endangerment charges. The TBI said that Stanford fired a gun several times while in the pursuit of a wanted fugitive in Smithville in November. At least one bullet struck a home with a woman and her 3 children inside. The indictment said there was no immediate threat to Stanford when he discharged his weapon. His first court appearance will be in January. Market numbers now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Dow Jones Industrials are down 253 right now. The NASDAQ falling 100 points. The S&P 500 index minus 26. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It's 10:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We're talking about the school shooting that happened in Madison, Wisconsin yesterday. Oh, Joan Jones is popping in. What do you got?
I got you a Christmas gift.
You got me a Christmas gift?
Yeah.
You didn't have to do that.
I know.
Why'd you do that? I was about to talk about a school shooting, and now I have to open a Christmas gift?
You don't have to.
Well, I'm gonna.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, look at that!
That's what I spend my time
How
doing.
nice is this? Oh my gosh.
That's cool.
You're so kind. It's going on the tree.
It's got to go on the tree.
It's going on the tree. I promise.
Okay.
Jeez. My list of people I need to get gifts for is just getting longer and longer. I love you, Joan. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh my gosh. I'm totally thrown off. There I was. I was about to go on a rant. Did you feel me gearing up for a rant?
You were
I was like my
energy
rant
building.
My rant pants were on, and then Joan Jones gives me the nicest little Christmas gift.
That is really cool, though. That's so cool.
Threw me completely off. What was I saying? Oh yeah, what drugs were the shooter on?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
What SSRIs was this 15-year-old girl on? All right, so Natalie Lynn Rupnow. That's the name. She carried out the mass shooting at the school library. There's been pictures of her flying around, and I want to point this out. She's got a T-shirt on, and I don't know if you pay attention to the internet as much as I do, but the T-shirt that she's wearing is actually a T-shirt that Dylan, one of the Columbine school shooters, one of the that was like one of the first highly publicized big mass shootings that on record. I remember that when I was in school, that happening. She's wearing the same shirt that he was wearing, and people are saying that she had an unhealthy obsession, an extensive online obsession with school shooters, particularly the Columbine high school shooting. And she was a big fan of that band, KMFDM, which was also referenced by one of the Columbine shooters. And they're saying she often wore this shirt. How do you know that and you don't see any red flags as the parents? How? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And the Democrats are jumping right in to push gun control. I want to push medication control. And at least, can we ask the question? Can we ask the question? We're never allowed to ask that question. It's always the gun's fault, right? Always the gun's fault. We have to have new, stricter laws. Well, she was 15, so she couldn't have got it anyway. We need universal background checks. Well, she was 15. The background checks that's there would have caught that, right? Like, we need to outlaw murder. All right, that's a good idea. Let's do that. And I say this in jest, and I understand the pain that the families are feeling is very, very real, and my heart goes out to them. But for the Democrats and the left to immediately jump to gun control, it's like we've seen this movie before. We've seen it before. At 10:35, we're going to talk to Hannah Faulker. She is my Gen Z expert. And I feel like my generation and her generation especially have just been inundated with anti-gun propaganda since we could walk. And we're going to have a long conversation about that issue in particular at 10:35 and how it's affecting her generation. The Democrats, again, already pushing gun control, already calling for action. Yet all the action they're calling for wouldn't have changed this situation one bit because it was a 15-year-old girl. Rep. Mark Pokin, a Democrat out of Wisconsin, called for his House colleagues to stand up to gun manufacturers following those reports out of Madison, Wisconsin. Breitbart News noted that Madison Chief of Police Sean Barnes indicated that the suspect was a juvenile and that they believed the juvenile used a 9mm handgun in the attack. This is according to Fox 13 Memphis. Pokin used an ex-post to call for more action on guns and against gun manufacturers before the weapon used in the heinous attack was revealed. Never let a good crisis go to waste. That's the Democrats' motto, and the Democrats aren't. Listen to this post. He goes, thoughts and prayers without action means more school shootings, more dead kids. More action is needed by our elected officials and more backbone to stand up to gun manufacturers. This is a uniquely a United States problem that doesn't have to happen. Listen, I agree it's a uniquely United States problem. I agree that this doesn't have to happen. But could you bring the same energy to the southern border? Honestly, could you? You know, Rachel Marin, mother of 5, raped and murdered. Jocelyn Nungary, 12-year-old girl, raped and murdered. The Laken Riley, going for a jog, raped and murdered. Nothing from the left. These crocodile tears mean absolutely nothing to me. They don't. Like, I've seen this too many times. I can predict exactly what the Democrats are going to do anytime a situation like this comes up. And I'm sure you can too, because you're smart. You've seen this movie before. It's unbelievable. Every single time. We got to ban the guns. We got to have stricter background checks. We got to go after the gun manufacturers. Oh, it was a 15-year-old? Oh, none of these actions would have changed anything? Oh, weird. Weird. It doesn't stop them from pushing gun control. CNN was on the news yesterday claiming that there have been 83 school shootings this year. 83. Hours after the Madison, Wisconsin Abundant Life Christian School shooting, CNN claimed that there have been 83 school shootings during 2024 alone. They didn't provide any links to the myriad of school shootings they claim to have occurred. Rather, they pointed out that they pulled their information from the CNN school shooting database. Okay. Moreover, they noted that they reviewed incidents reported by the Gun Violence Archive, Everytown for Gun Safety and Education Week. But it was like just a few years ago, Breitbart had pointed out that the Gun Violence Archive lists defensive gun uses and officer gun uses against criminals as gun violence. So the numbers are flawed already. But again, CNN, hours after the shooting. There's been 83 school shootings this year. Have there? Can we explain? And if there have, how many of these have happened in urban centers? Democrat-controlled areas with the strictest of gun laws. And why didn't you have the same crocodile tears if there was a school shooting in one of these urban areas? Exactly. I think that we need to go the other way. I think we need to bring guns back into the school, be it teachers, security guards, and let's do some firearms training for kids. Wouldn't that be solid? You know, in Poland, they've actually implemented firearm education at all of their primary and secondary schools. You want kids to respect firearms? Teach them how to use them. Honestly, teach them how to use them. That'd be a good first step to fixing these issues. Poland implemented firearms education at all of their primary and secondary schools.
First maths, then history, and finally shooting. Weaponry class is now mandatory in Polish schools and could soon become a favourite.
It feels good to hit the target.
Shooting is fun. Holding a gun in your hands and shooting feels really cool.
I think it's a good idea. Life is scary these days, so you have to be prepared for anything.
Yeah, listen, I think that we need this in America. Not only just for giving kids a healthy respect for what a weapon does, but also that education to know what do you do if you find a weapon? You know what I mean? Like, what do you do? I think we need more guns, not less. Instead of having soft targets like these schools are currently today, why not have more education and more armed individuals in these schools? If a school shooter knows that they're not going to get past the front walkway, maybe they rethink the entire plan. Again, Poland implemented firearm education at all primary and secondary schools. And these kids, they're what, middle schoolers, middle school age, probably right around the same age that the school shooter in Madison, Wisconsin was. And these kids are learning and respecting the firearms.
The Nicholas Copernicus School in Skarshevi is a normal primary school with students from the 1st to the 8th grade. Differences of opinion are also handled in the normal way. What is less normal about this school is in the gym, where 13 and 14-year-olds arm themselves with the assault rifles and pistols laid out on the table, under the principal's supervision.
Yes. Teach the kids about them under adult supervision. Please. I think that would be fantastic. Listen, I've had conversations about with the trainers over at the Glock store, like, hey, what age do you recommend? They say, well, every kid's different. Every kid's different. But I want to bring Kennedy in there, my 10-year-old. I'm itching to bring my 7-year-old in there, start with a 22, work their way up. I think that's a good thing to do. I think firearm safety starts with mom and dad. And if the schools want to jump in and help, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. It's the difference of how they're attacking the problem. Completely different. But this school shooter was radicalized. One way or another. We're probably never going to find out the motive, and the longer that we go without a motive, the more you can assume that this person was radicalized online. And Madison, Wisconsin is an absolute anti-Christian hotbed of extremism. There's no way around it. Breitbart has a story. Since the leak of Justice Samuel Alito's draft majority opinion in the Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization case that eventually led to the overturning of Roe v. Wade, America has entered a summer of rage. This is from July of 22. The wave of demonstrations saw protesters going far beyond simply donning Handmaid's Tale's bonnets and gathering around the Supreme Court. There have been dozens of acts of violence, destruction, and harassment aimed at intimidating anti-abortion Christians and conservatives. In this series of articles, we'll identify key players, and they go on to identify the fact that Madison, Wisconsin, and that area is huge for this. And Jane's Revenge, a far-left militant group, anti-Christian, pro-abortion, has garnered support from networks of left-wing activists, particularly those tied to Madison, Wisconsin. Weird. Could this have anything to do with the motive of the shooter? Listen, I don't know. She attacked a Christian school. Could it have anything to do with it? I'm not sure. I just think it's a question that we need to ask. It's a question we need to ask. The commissioner of police in Madison, Wisconsin, said that the family is cooperating with their investigation.
Is the shooter's family cooperating?
At this time, yes.
So you have made contact with the shooter's family?
We have.
And what were the steps to do that?
It's through the investigative process. Okay. Lauren?
Is the shooter's home being searched? We've got some information about that is ongoing.
Yes, obviously, once we have identified, we have initiated a search, but we think that search is either ongoing now or that search may be concluded. Of course, it's about safety. That's the first thing, making sure that people are safe, and then we'll go from there. This has been, this has been an amazing day for everyone. And so if you have someone who is deceased, who may have been a shooter, you want to make sure that their family is okay. You don't know. And so that is what we're doing right now. It is about the safety of everyone. This is going to be a long day for the Madison Police Department. We just want some of your patience.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I know it's going to be a long day for those guys. A heartbreaking day. Those police officers that are responding are gonna feel that throughout the holiday season. These families that have lost loved ones are gonna feel that throughout the holiday season. These friends and coworkers are gonna feel that throughout the holiday season. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. But boy, does it infuriate me when the left immediately jumps to gun control, and they do it every single time. Every single time. Oh, we got to get rid of the guns. You know, it's funny. Where was this energy when Luigi Mangione gunned down the United Healthcare CEO? Yeah, I mean, I didn't hear any calls for gun control then. Weird. Where was this energy when people were being raped and murdered via a wide open southern border? None of this energy. It's not about the loss of life to the left. It's about taking away your firearms, and it's always about that. It's 1021 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Changes on the horizon after a car goes speeding through the center of Lebanon. And AOC gets the cold shoulder from Democrat leaders. Those stories at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I heard about that car crash in Lebanon. I think we need to go after car manufacturers, and we need to regulate cars.
Nissan, we're coming for you.
Yeah, honestly.
Have you seen the video?
Dude, nuts.
It's wild.
Nuts.
How do you get that much air?
I mean, don't drink and drive.
Yeah.
That's a way to not get that kind of air. That video is wild. Looking forward to that story.
Yeah.
It's 10:26 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Ham. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. You want me to get off on a tangent on water? I can. Probably shouldn't, but I will. Just call Better Water LLC. Get yourself a home filter. Trust me. Thank me in advance. Better Water LLC. On the way, 10:35. One Hannah Faulker is going to be joining the show. You know, with these school shootings, it's always propaganda and yelling about how we need to take away guns and we need to ban them no matter what. And a lot of this propaganda has really been hammered at millennials to start off with. And you know, that started back, I mean, right when Columbine happened. I remember that throughout grade school and high school. And now Gen Z, they've been inundated with this propaganda about how guns are bad. And this is what they want. They want to disarm the public. You know, and we've seen how well that works in places like Australia. You know, you just end up with a tyrannical government. That's not something I'm a fan of. Not a fan of that at all. So I want to talk to Hannah Faulker and see how she has avoided the propaganda and really blocked it out. And kind of get a sense on where Gen Z is at on the firearm issue. Before we know it, Gen Z is going to be in control of this country. We're going to blink, and it's going to be here. And we're going to have to ask ourselves, what is that going to look like? Because the propaganda has been laid thick. So we'll talk to Hannah Faulker about that in a minute. Real quick, Mike in Nashville wants to talk about the shooting. Mike, you're on Super Talk. How we doing, man?
Okay, yeah, how you doing? Yeah, maybe, after the call. But yeah, like I've already told people, I heard a guy say a long time ago, the only thing that gun laws do is take guns out of the good people like me and you that actually need a gun to protect our family. These last shootings, this girl here, she didn't purchase that gun, and she wasn't even old enough to purchase the gun. The guy in the school in Georgia, he didn't purchase the gun either. The gun laws, like I said, they don't stop. They don't stop they only stop good guys. They don't stop the bad guys. The bad guy's going to get a gun one way or the other, whether he has to buy it underground, off the street, or anywhere he can get his hands on a gun. So, like I said, gun laws don't solve anything. They just make it harder for people like me and you to get one. And I like to hear what you have to say about that.
No, I'm with you. Bad guys don't follow gun laws. You know, listen, murder's been illegal since Moses came down the hill with the tablets. You know, this isn't going to change anything. New rules isn't going to change anything. It's just not. There's no way around it. And if you take away the guns, well, people will find something else to do, you know, and you'll see a rise in stabbings like you've seen across Ireland and England. I think, listen, you'll get the same kind of issues, just a little bit differently. And where's this energy? A lot of people on the text line want to know when Trump got shot. There were no calls to ban firearms. And again, there were no calls to ban firearms after Luigi Mangione took out the United Healthcare CEO. Wasn't convenient enough, right? They like guns almost taking out President Trump. They like guns taking out the CEO. It's absolute insanity. Absolute insanity. But this is what you get from the modern day left. It's 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
10:30 now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Video of a speeding car tearing through Lebanon's downtown over the weekend and going airborne through that square has gone viral. That car narrowly missing, hitting the monument in the middle of the square. Well, now Channel 4's Carly Gordon says changes may be coming.
Lebanon police say there have been more than 100 crashes here over the past 2 years. Police now say they are ramping up patrols in this area. They are also looking at traffic patterns to determine whether something needs to change. And the crash here, by the way, remains under investigation.
2 people were inside that car that crashed Sunday. One of them was seriously hurt. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee's administration has been meeting with potential vendors that could run a private school voucher program. The Tennessean reports that the move comes as lawmakers gear up to tackle whether to expand the program statewide. Tennessean reports that it's not unusual for lawmakers and administration officials to meet with lobbyists and stakeholders on legislation before and while it's being considered by the legislature. A big setback for Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez yesterday in her bid to become the top Democrat on the powerful House Oversight Committee. The Democrats' Steering and Policy Committee has voted in favor of Virginia Congressman Jerry Connolly taking that seat. But that may not be the end of the issue. AOC says she intends to move ahead with the full Democratic caucus where she feels she'll get a better outcome. Are you taking a trip in the car for the Christmas holiday? Well, you certainly will not be alone.
On the roads, 107 million people are expected to drive. That's more than 2 million more than last year. The best time to get on the road is before 11 a.m., just about any day before Christmas.
ABC's Gio Benitez. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
It's 10:36 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and I'm joined in studio by one of the most prominent Gen Zers I know, Hannah Faulker. What's up, Hannah?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Hannah's got a new book coming out. Tell me about the book.
Last Chance to Save Our Republic. We highlight a lot of the issues facing our country, including this infringement on our Second Amendment. I know you've been seeing a lot of that happen, especially with the school shooting yesterday, which is tragic. But the polls and all this propaganda around our guns, it's sickening. But in the book, we break it down, the communist ties, the Marxist ties to it, why it's so dangerous, and the threats that we're up against. So Last Chance to Save Our Republic.
And the book comes out in January.
January 1st, but it's available for pre-order right now.
Perfect. Hannah's 17, and she's just brilliant. And I love that we have a resource like this to kind of give us an insight into Gen Z. How much propaganda have you been exposed to that is anti-gun?
Yeah, well, this is something that I've recognized, is that these people, they're not just anti-gun. They're anti-self-defense, because what comes after taking away our guns? Then they take away our knives, just like that happened in the UK. All over England, They're trying to take away people's knives. And the way to defend their families, and you look throughout communist countries, it's all about power and control. It's all about disarming your citizens. I mean, you look at Mao Zedong, a part of the Mao's Cultural Revolution. He said, if the Communist Party wants to have control over the people, they have to have power over the gun. I mean, Lenin, Stalin said that if they want to have power over their people, let's disarm them. We have to disarm our people. So this is a constant trend in history, in human history, with disarming their people to have full control over them. And so this isn't just about, gun control. This is about, disarming American citizens so that we are weak compared to the government and compared to these globalists.
Yeah, but a lot of people will say that you're the outlier. And then I'll point to the election results and the youth votes swing towards Trump. Are you the outlier? Or do you think that a lot of this anti-gun propaganda has essentially done the exact opposite to your generation, where you've kind of rebelled against it en masse? Or am I reading too much into it?
No, I think Gen Z's really waking up, realizing that, we have been lied to for so long about all of this, that this isn't about safety, because where are mass shootings happening? Where are these people, these predators going? They're going to gun-free zones. So this isn't about safety. If they want schools, if they want safety for people, then they'll teach them on how to protect themselves with a firearm or with, a knife or a flashlight even. I was at a scenario training facility, WAFT, where families train, a couple months back, and it's like the amount of things that you can do with a flashlight. Just learning safety techniques thing. I know so many people are like, we've got to get armed security. It's like, well, let's equip our teachers.
Yeah.
The people that we already have in the schools, and then they say, oh, well, we just don't have the funding to equip the teachers. But it's like, how do you have the funding to put in armed security guards all over the school, but you don't have the funds to equip your teachers to be able to defend their classrooms, come a situation. So the thing is, gun control as a whole doesn't work, because predators go where they can prey on the weak. And that is exactly why they're going to gun-free zones. So gun control doesn't work. It always comes into another pool for more control.
Do you think that it's just too easy to go after the gun control argument, and that there needs to be more of a conversation with SSRIs? And being that you're in high school, how many young kids are on SSRIs that you know? Is it as prevalent as we think it is?
It's definitely, there's so much happening with Gen Z. Medication, the chemical cocktails that these kids are being prescribed. I don't think it's any coincidence that this is, the most depressed, most suicidal, anxiety-ridden generation. And we just found out that the shooter, she's, 15 years old? Attends the school. What creates a society? Like, let's stop going to, even Governor Bill Lee here, right after the shooting at the Covenant School. He started imposing red flag laws, which is an infringement on our constitutional Second Amendment, our Second Amendment right. That is an infringement. And, it doesn't work. Like, let's go to the root of the problem. Why are we having these mass shootings? Why are people losing their mind? And all of a sudden, because there's a layer that we aren't getting to. We have a family problem, which is what I break down in the book. This is the greatest issue facing our country, is the breakdown of the family. And the reason why these kids are on these medications, that they don't have strong families, don't have a strong mother and a strong family figure in their life. And you've got great kids, strong, resilient. My sister's friends with your daughter, And it comes from having a strong mother and a strong father in the home.
Yep.
So, I mean, until we get back to a cultural shift where we have strong families, I mean, we can, have RFK, which is awesome, what he's going to do and, take back, reclaim our health in our country. But we've got to get back to strengthening the family unit ultimately.
Do you think that, especially, and I want to like hyper focus on your generation, because it's like at a certain point you guys are going to be in control, and I think it's going to be here before we know it. And I think to a certain extent it could be a bit of a hostile takeover with your generation. But do you think that they understand the levels of propaganda here? When Joe Biden puts out a statement and says we need to ban assault weapons, we need to have universal background checks, do they understand that the shooter was 15? Even if you did all of this, it wouldn't have changed anything. The shooter used a 9mm. You ban an assault weapon, this doesn't change what happened yesterday in Madison, Wisconsin?
I want to say this real quick. Something that I find very interesting about the left, and this is what tells us is they don't care about safety. It's all about power and control. Is that you saw what happened with a United Healthcare CEO. You saw how he was assassinated and killed. The left, all they said nothing about guns. They said nothing about gun control. They actually said that they were joyed by the. I mean, you saw Taylor Lorenz.
Yep, on Piers Morgan,
saying that
felt
she
joy
over this death. And it's like, okay, so we know that you don't care about safety. We know that you clearly don't care about the future generation safety. This is all a ploy of propaganda. This is all about control. And that's what these people want. I will say I think there's two kind of people in this pool of propaganda and the gun control arguments. Is that you've got the ones that are, the higher ups, these, wealthy, these billionaires, these oligarchs that just want power and control. But then you've got the second class where it's just a bunch of duped, uneducated, they don't know what to believe in, so they're just like, oh, safety, you want safety, like let's ban guns. Yep. So I'm not going to throw everyone into the class of they just want power and control, but we've got to start, having conversations about firearms. I mean, AR, everybody thinks assault rifle. It's not an assault rifle. That's not what it means. Armalite rifle, right? Yep. I mean, so there's so much propaganda and just the twisting of verbiage around firearms. People don't know how to use a firearm. Well, and
they're really uneducated. Bo Diddle, our friend Bronson, who he's been on the show before. He went around and he was at a Pride festival and he was asking. He goes around with fake petitions and he tries to get to.
I saw that.
He tries to get the left to expose themselves, and his question was, do you think we should ban AR-47s? And it's like all these leftists are like, heck yeah, we should. Like, weapons of war don't belong in my streets. And it's like, you're so uneducated on the topic. How do we educate, especially the younger generation, on this topic? Poland is bringing firearm training right into the school. This is something that we used to do here in America. Is that something we should get back to?
No, I think that would be incredible. And to anyone listening right now, I mean, that should perk our ears up. I mean, Poland is the first European country to have, required compulsory gun school classes, educating the students on how to use a firearm, how to defend themselves. They also are, shooting at any terrorist that comes across their border right now. I mean, they're getting prepped. They're getting prepared for any attack on their homeland. And right now, it's sad. You look at all these shootings, you look at the youth right now, you can't walk down the road without, the young people. I was actually at a college campus the other day, and I honked my horn. There was like 5 college students. They had earbuds in. Honked my horn to see if they'd look up. They didn't even look up. They just kept walking. Wow. So it's like, we aren't prepared if we have an attack on our homeland, which, fool us, if shame on us if we don't think that's going to happen, because they're planning one in 2025, 100%. Yep. But we are a threat. I mean, we are weak right now. We are weak under this regime. I mean, the Biden-Harris regime has gotten us into countless wars right now. I mean, so many things could happen with less. 34 days up until the elections. We've got to have our head on a swivel. But as it pertains to educating this next generation, I think that would be incredible to see that happen. But at least, just teach them on basic safety skills, how to use a flashlight, how to defend yourself with a knife. A gun, like, you don't even have to bring in a gun to the school to show them. Like, there's so many, videos that you could educate. There's so many firearms instructors that you could bring into the classroom. So I think, education is the best defense against tyranny. And I really think that Poland is winning in that area right now, for sure.
And you made the point about terrorist attacks, and we were talking about that a bit off the air when we were running from downstairs to upstairs to make it to the breaking time. If you disarm the public, which it's the ultimate goal here, we're sitting ducks.
Yeah.
And this energy of we need to ban firearms because this happened, it's like that same energy is not there for Jocelyn Nungary in the border or Rachel Marin in the border or, Lake and Riley. Go down the list. They don't care about life at all. They care about their specific agenda.
Well, I mean, you look at I was just talking to my dad before we came on the air. I mean, look at the whole Daniel Penny situation. I mean, this guy is an absolute hero, an American hero, a Marine who gave his life for this country. He gave his life at the subway to protect the innocent people there. And the way that the media portrayed him for the last year and a half is a disgrace.
Evil white guy kills black guy.
An absolute disgrace. And you look at his family. I mean, you look at Jordan Neely's family. They were up on the podium saying, where is the outlash for our son? Why do you not care about our son? It's like, where were you when he was homeless? Where were you when he became a drug addict and he needed your help? Well, you weren't there. And now all of a sudden, when there's a paycheck, when there's some money involved, you want to be there.
Weird. Isn't that weird how that always happens? We're talking with Hannah Faulker. She is my prominent Gen Z expert, and we're talking about the propaganda that's being pushed on this younger generation. Are you guys going to make it out on the other side, Gen Z? Do you think that we're going to look back and realize that every lie that the left pushed on you guys was all for naught, and it kind of made the pendulum swing the other way?
Listen, I hope so. I do think we have to be realistic, though. I mean, as a Christian, the only thing that's going to turn this country around is a revival.
Amen.
I mean, we can have a few legislative changes, a great president in office, but if we don't have a revival, we might have some temporary change. But in 8-10 years, we're going to be back to where we started. So we've got to have a revival among this generation, a wake-up call. Last Chance to Save Our Republic, I think it is a wake-up call. I believe I so many things in this book that I didn't even know happened or are part of our history because you don't hear it in schools. You don't hear it. The mainstream media, the communist propaganda machine, as I call it, they aren't talking about it. I mean, people like you are talking about it, but you don't hear it from CNN. You don't hear it from MSNBC, and oftentimes you don't even hear it from Fox News.
Yeah.
So we've got to start getting to the root of this problem, and that is the lack of families, the lack of fatherlessness. And two, I'll say this. I mean, our government right now, the welfare programs, child support, all of it, I mean, it is literally incentivizing fatherlessness. It is incentivizing broken families.
Yep.
So we've got to strengthen the family unit. We've got to get back to what made this country great. That's the word of God. That is the gospel. We're not a theocracy. There's no freedom in a theocracy, but we are a constitutional republic founded on biblical principles. So,
and I've seen you pouring your heart and soul into this book. I would drop my daughter off at your house, and it's like Hannah's in the cave writing, and she's just head down pouring in. Why did you want to write the book?
Yeah, so I actually, for the longest time, my dad was encouraging me. I don't remember if I shared this last time, but my dad was encouraging me. He's like, you have all these ideas, you're traveling, you're speaking, you should write a book. And I told him, I'm like, no, I'm not writing the book. Like, that's just not happening. I don't have enough, research to even put into a 300-page book. Like, it's just not happening. And then a few months later, I thought, you know what? I'm going to start with the gender ideology because that was something that was very passionate. I was very passionate about that at the time. I mean, still am.
Well, that's how me and you first linked up.
Yeah,
was the
Teens Against Gender Mutilation rally.
in Murfreesboro.
And so that was something I had really just seen with my own eyes, especially being in the medical facilities with my sister's injury. And so I started writing and learning all of the things about John Money and the fact that the first genital mutilation surgery, it wasn't in 2000. It wasn't in 2020. It was in 1965 on a man named Avon Wilson at the John Hopkins Hospital. And so for me, it's like nobody's
that's
talking
the first
about
one.
this.
That's the first one in America.
Yeah, the first one in America. Yeah, I mean, I think there was one actually in the late 1800s in Eastern Germany.
Yep. Weimar, Germany. It was 1904. I want to say. I mean, it's a long time ago.
It's insanity, and nobody's talking about this stuff.
No.
Nobody, and also too, like the feminist movement. People think that it began in America. It didn't. It began in Eastern Europe. And it kind of just civiled its way over to the United States of America. And then
expand on that. The feminist movement started in Eastern Europe?
Yeah. I mean, there were several counterparts in Eastern Europe. And even you look at Margaret Sanger, like she traveled over to Eastern Europe. Hitler said that he admired her for her work and what she was doing.
Margaret Sanger, the mother of Planned Parenthood.
I mean, the largest provider in sex education, the largest provider in contraception, abortion. I mean, this is the death facility, population control galore. I mean, that was her agenda, was to control the population.
I've actually played a fun game before. It's you read quotes and you go, was it Margaret Sanger or was it Hitler? And 9 out of 10 times, the most vile quotes actually come from Margaret Sanger, who people put up on a pedestal and celebrate today.
And I'll say this too, because I know people watching this that might disagree will say, well, Planned Parenthood has distanced themselves from Margaret Sanger. They gave the Margaret Sanger Award out until I think it was 2016. So because Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton both received the Margaret Sanger Award, which imagine receiving
what an honor.
The ultimate eugenics award. I mean, that's like literally a eugenics award, which is disgusting. So, I mean, just so many things that you just don't hear about in the media. We break it all down in this book. And I'll say this too. You saw the girl, Lily Phillips. She was bragging about sleeping with 100 men.
Yes, I've seen that video. We haven't covered it on the show. It's a wild story. And she was on with Candace Owens, and now her next goal is to do 1,000, sleep with 1,000 men in 24 hours.
Yeah, I mean, and my heart breaks for her and the girls that are watching, because I mean, I don't think that they realize. You look at OnlyFans, like when you are selling your soul, selling your body to an app or to a site for cash, like you are placating into like the breakdown of, I mean, that is the ultimate breakdown of the family unit is the sexual revolution through the feminist movement. And I remember Lily saying, why are you guys bashing me? I thought that you as women were to be empowering. And it's like, this isn't empowering. Like, this is one of the most oppressive, degrading, objectifying things that you could do. And you know that she's not empowered by it because she's breaking down in tears. She's like holding back tears, about to fall on her knees. She's not empowered. She's not happy doing it. She even said it felt like prostitution.
She's broken.
And absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Like, I pray then, hope that she, someone will share the gospel with her, that she will hear it and receive it, because, I mean, she's not happy doing it, and you can tell.
No, you can absolutely tell. We're talking with Hannah Faulker. She gives me hope for an entire generation, and I hope that you can continue waking your generation up. You wrote a book. Tell me again about the book and where we can get it.
Yeah, Last Chance to Save Our Republic. So the foreword is by General Michael Flynn, a patriot, firebrand for this country. They can get it on Amazon, Last Chance to Save Our Republic, or your audience can go to my website, cultureof1776.com, and they can also get it there.
Cultureof1776.com. Hannah's got a great new book. Support young patriots. Support Hannah Faulker. Cultureof1776.com. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate you as always. This girl is a firebrand, and I've said it many, many times. It's like we're going to turn around and we're going to be saying Senator Faulker one day because you're gonna grab the reins in this state. I fully believe it.
Well, I really appreciate you guys, and I'll see you at America Fest this weekend.
Phoenix, we're going.
Let's go.
It's going to be wild.
I know. Probably the largest one. With President Trump, so many iconic
it's
there.
Like Tucker, Trump, the entire Daily Wire roster is going to be there. We got Gates, we got Bannon. It's going to be nuts.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing you there.
It's going to be exciting.
Yeah. All right. It's 10:54 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ooh.
All right, drivers, if you're on 24 heading to Nashville, you need to know there is an overturned vehicle blocking the left lane of I-24 in Robertson County. Going to be right there at Cedar Hill. How did that 15-year-old girl get the gun, and why did she open fire in Abundant Life Christian School yesterday in Wisconsin? We've got the latest at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It's 10:59 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. And if you're paying attention on the internet and you saw the episode that Tucker Carlson dropped last night, it may be his spiciest episode ever. And I don't say that lightly. The episode that he dropped last night is not something that he could have ever aired on Fox. And I love it. I'm here for it. I'm always here for conversations, even if it is a third rail topic. And mark my words, this is a third rail topic. And the Tucker slander is incoming. I'm going to break it all down for you in a minute. Plus, give you my take on the conversation that was had. I thought it was a fantastic episode. I think it's a conversation that we should be able to have, yet we aren't. And it's a conversation that you don't get on Fox, you don't get on CNN, you don't get on MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC. You don't get it anywhere else. And Tucker delivered this conversation to a much larger audience yesterday than he could have ever before. See, whenever they try to censor people, it always backfires. It's the Barbra Streisand effect, and we'll get into it when we get back. It's 11:01 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Again, heads up, Robertson County drivers. You've got an overturned vehicle blocking the left lane of 24 eastbound right before Maxey Road. And the big questions now are how and where did a 15-year-old student get a gun to open fire at Abundant Life Christian School, killing a fellow student and a teacher before herself, and what motivated her? Here's Jim Ryan.
When police stormed the building, a student and a teacher were dead, and Natalie Samantha Rucknow lay dying of a self-inflicted wound. Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes has had detectives talk with the parents of the 15-year-old.
They knew her, they lived with her, and so we wanted to get an account of what kind of child she was.
Social media postings attributed to Samantha Rucknow hint at alienation, resentment, and hatred.
Yeah, the campus director there says the school does not have metal detectors but uses other security measures, including cameras. Also said guns are not allowed on campus and that the school regularly practices safety routines. Alleged Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann charged with a 7th murder in New York today. The Suffolk County District Attorney says they linked Heuermann to Valerie Mack's death in part through DNA analysis. Officials say 24-year-old Valerie Mack had been working as an escort in Philadelphia. Some of her remains found in 2000. DA Raymond Tierney says Mack's family was at today's news conference.
They're very grateful for the small bit of closure that the task force has been able to provide.
Tierney telling reporters they continue to investigate other murders near Gilgo Beach on Long Island in New York and in other areas. President-elect Trump calling on the U.S. government to provide more information about drone sightings. White House officials responding this morning. National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby on Good Morning America.
The sun's going down a lot earlier now. The winter's upon us and people can look up and see things. But I would remind people, when you look at these images, these videos, they have navigation lights on them. They're seeing them because these drones, these aircraft are operating the way the FAA requires them to operate in U.S. airspace.
The FBI says it has received more than 5,000 tips in the last few weeks about drone sightings in New Jersey and other states that have resulted in about 100 leads, with federal investigators supporting state and local officials. Your air fryer could be spying on you and your other internet-connected appliances. Here's Chuck Severson.
Of the hundreds of app-connected appliances on the market, the UK consumer advocacy group Which looked at the top-rated air fryers on Amazon. 3 wanted permission to record audio on the user's phone for no specified reason. The Xiaomi app linked to trackers from Facebook and Chinese tech giant Tencent. The Igostar air fryer wanted to know gender and date of birth, but it was optional. Both fryers sent people's personal data to servers in China. Regulators in America and Britain are seeking power to crack down.
That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 11:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Hey, how are you? Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. We're thankful for all of our fearless sponsors, but especially Better Water LLC. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, at Chris Hand on Air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. You can listen to us on iHeartRadio, tune in, the 99.7 WTN app. And if you missed something and you want to hear it again, well, you can always find the podcast on Apple and Spotify. I think I did all the things except for Super Talk TV. You can watch us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. So last night, Tucker Carlson dropped a very, very spicy episode of the, what is it, the Tucker Carlson Show? Is that what it's called? Or is it just Tucker? I don't know the exact name.
I think it's the show, the Tucker Carlson Show. Let me pull it up here.
He posted it on X, and it's 2 hours, and he's sitting down with a guy named Jeffrey Sachs. And a lot of people were like, eye roll emoji, oh my gosh, not Jeffrey Sachs. What an anti-Semite, and all these crazy things. I'll be honest with you, I'd never heard of Jeffrey Sachs before. I didn't have a preconceived opinion about him. So I went into the episode just like I do any Tucker Carlson episode. I just wanted to watch and listen and hopefully learn something, as I often do, and really just be exposed to great conversation. And I was exposed to great conversation. But it was the spiciest episode because fingers got pointed at Israel. And this is something that you're not allowed to do, especially in conservative politics. You're not allowed to say that Israel does anything wrong ever. Now, I'm not saying Israel did do anything wrong. I'm just saying what's wrong with that conversation and why is that conversation a third rail? And Jeffrey Sachs brought receipts, and he talked about a lot of things that is very, very fascinating, and I think I'd be interested to dive more into. But he started the conversation talking about how in 2011 it was Barack Obama who ordered the CIA to topple Syria. And I thought, wow, I've never heard that in the news. That's fascinating. And I'll be honest, I've heard this before, but I didn't hear it from mainstream media. I heard it from internet research, And Tucker asked Jeffrey Sachs, why did he do that? And Jeffrey Sachs says, because Israel runs our foreign policy. And you see, this is when it becomes third rail. This is when you're not allowed to have these conversations. But I'll play you the clip.
What happened was the U.S. got bogged down in Iraq. There was the insurgency. We didn't move onward to the next war, which was to be Syria, which was to happen already 20 years ago. But in 2011, what really brought Assad down last week started under Obama. This is also interesting. It doesn't really matter who's president. This is long-term deep state policy. Obama ordered the CIA to overthrow Assad. So that started in 2011.
But why would Obama want to overthrow Assad?
Because Israel has run American foreign policy in the Middle East for 30 years.
Now, even Jeffrey Sachs, right before he says that, you can kind of hear him chuckle under his breath a bit because he knows this is a third rail topic. This is not something that you can put on Fox News. This is not something that you can say on a lot of these news networks. It may be safer to say on a leftist news network, in all honesty, these days, but it's not something that conservatives really want to hear, and for a lot of different reasons. But Jeffrey Sachs said it, and people are mad at Tucker for platforming this.
That's how it works. We have an Israel lobby. We have this clean break strategy. We have a plan for 7 wars in 5 years. And what's interesting is they actually kind of carry out this madness. They don't explain any of it to the American people. They don't tell anybody, but you can watch step by step. We've had 6 of those 7 wars.
Now, again, this is third rail. And I'm not here to co-sign what Jeffrey Sachs says, but I'm always here to listen to an interesting conversation. And this was anything if not interesting. And he said, Obama ordered the CIA to topple Syria. And he specifically points out Timber Sycamore. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Timber Sycamore, but that was when Obama authorized the CIA and supported by the United Kingdom and some Arab intelligence services, including Saudi intelligence. And this aim of Timber Sycamore was to remove Syrian President Assad from power. And it was launched in 2011-ish, 2012. They gave money, they gave weaponry, they provided training to Syrian opposition groups, fighting Syrian government forces in the civil war. For all intents and purposes, it was an American war done in the shadows via the CIA and rubber-stamped by Obama. And that started before Russia went into Syria. It's interesting. Listen, those are facts, and it's hard to dispute those facts. You can dispute whether or not Israel's taken over our foreign policy, especially in the Middle East, but this debate can't even be had on a lot of news networks, and a lot of conservatives don't even want to have this debate either. It's fascinating. I'm not leaning one way or the other, but I'm always interested to listen. Words don't necessarily scare me, but it's wild to see this being aired. It would have never been aired on Fox, and then to see the reaction online.
Israel has driven so many American wars, and we say, absolutely, yes, that's our greatest ally. These have been at huge cost to the United States, cost of trillions of dollars, cost geopolitically, but somehow we gave away our foreign policy to Israel years and years ago, and it's been absolutely devastating. And it's interesting to go back and watch Netanyahu speak to the American people.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Netanyahu was a big fan of the Iraq war. Netanyahu is a big fan of any war in the Middle East. Now, you could make the argument that our bad guys just happen to be the same bad guys. Our enemies are Israel's enemies, and that's just, it's a happy little coincidence. But I think that the limiting of the conversation here is what gives you a bit of pause. And Jeffrey Sachs went on to say, despite what they tell you, in 2011, Syria was actually a functioning country. So 2011 is when Obama launched Operation Sycamore.
Bring down the Libyan government, Muammar Gaddafi, in the fall of, the war started in March 2011. And he and Hillary Clinton, his Secretary of State, said Assad must go in the spring of 2011. I remember scratching my head at the time saying, oh, that's interesting. How are they going to do that? Syria was a normal functioning country at the time, despite whatever you read, whatever propaganda is said. Syria was a normal functioning country. I recently dredged out a report by the International Monetary Fund on Syria in 2009 that praised the Syrian government for its reforms and its rapid economic growth and looked forward to continued years of economic development. In other words, it was not this wasteland or this battlefield. It was an actual normal country.
Now, again, these aren't things you hear on mainstream news. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a Syrian expert. But I do find the conversation fascinating.
Is it a threat to the United States?
It was no threat to the United States whatsoever, but it was deemed to be by Netanyahu a threat to Israel because of a simple reason, which is that Netanyahu wants to control all of Palestine, wants to rule over the Palestinian people, does not want a Palestinian state. And that has led to militant opposition. That's led to Hamas. That's led to Hezbollah. That's led to other groups. Netanyahu's theory is, well, we're never going to allow a Palestinian state, so we have to bring down any government that supports those militant groups against us, because our core aim is greater Israel.
Now, that's a huge word right there, Greater Israel and the Greater Israel Project. You could do your own research on that, but this is where it gets third rail. And a lot of people get very, very upset when this stuff comes up. I don't get hurt by words. I can disagree with somebody and still listen to what they have to say and not feel like they need to be deplatformed. I'm not necessarily mad at Tucker for having Jeffrey Sachs on. Again, I don't have an opinion on Jeffrey Sachs, but I think the thing that will make the right mad is Tucker platforming this guy. And you're already seeing it, and you're going to have loads more of conservative influencers and pundits and talking heads slamming this entire interview as anti-Semitic. They'll slam Tucker as anti-Semitic. They'll call Sachs an anti-Semite. And sure, you'll have some voices going the other way. And you'll have some people down the middle and open to conversate and not lose their mind. I find myself in that group. And I get why people get so worked up. Listen, I really do. I mean, that region, the deep ties there on both sides would, if you said it like that, it'd be completely understating it. But I think you know what I'm getting at. Again, I'll take the middle route. I'm open to conversation. Words don't scare me. Mean words don't scare me. And at the end of the day, like I'm a Christian, right? So I think that all religions, I want to talk to them and bring them to Christ. Whether you're a Jew, a Muslim, a Hindu, a Buddhist, Christ is the way. Now, I think Israel is a net positive for Christians. It's because of Israel that we can walk where Jesus walked. It's because of Israel that maybe one day I'll be able to get baptized in the Jordan River. Like that's a goal of mine. It's an experience I want to have, and I'm not sure that I'd be able to ever get that experience or opportunity if it was a Muslim country. If we're being honest. All that being said, the conversation about Israel's government is different if you can separate the people from the leadership and the soil and the people from the soil. You know what I mean? Like if you can separate the government from the soil and the people from the leadership, you can have a different conversation about this. You have to realize that before October 7th, even Israelis were protesting Netanyahu in Israel. And if you look at it through that angle, you realize that Israel has a government that's just like just about everybody else's government. It's far from perfect. And this far from perfect government does seem to have more influence on our foreign policy in the Middle East than other allies. Listen, it was Thomas Massey who just a few months ago said every member of Congress has an AIPAC guy. That's the American-Israeli Partnership Lobby. And people, their ears perked up when they heard this.
Everybody but me has an AIPAC person.
What does that mean, an AIPAC person?
It's like your babysitter, your AIPAC babysitter, who is always talking to you for AIPAC. They're probably a constituent in your district, but they are firmly embedded in AIPAC. And
every member has something like this?
That's how it works on the Republican side. And when they come to D.C., you go have lunch with them. And they've got your cell number, and you have conversations with them.
That's absolutely crazy.
I've had 4 members of Congress say, I'll talk to my AIPAC person. And it's literally what we call them, my AIPAC guy. I'll talk to my AIPAC guy and see if I can get him to dial those ads back.
Why have I never heard this before?
Why would they want to tell their constituents that they've basically got a buddy system with somebody who's representing a foreign country? It doesn't benefit the congressman for people to know that, so they're not going to tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, does everybody have an Irish lobbying guy that they consult? I don't know. I'm just asking questions. Does everybody have a South Korean lobbying guy that they talk to before they make decisions? I don't know. Is every member of Congress having an AIPAC guy a good thing? I'm just wondering. Do they have Germany guys? Do we have GPAC? And I have questions, as I'm sure you do, but none of these questions are ever explained because these conversations aren't allowed to happen. But you get these moments, and then the conversation gets derailed. And I hate this conversation being a third rail topic, but I fear because of the intense passion on both sides that's all it's ever going to be is a third rail topic. This is one of the last third rails. And believe me when I tell you this, Tucker could have never aired this interview on Fox, full stop. And it's because Fox fired him that he's even able to air this interview. And you know what? He's able to air it to an even larger audience. And after posting the episode, Elon tweeted about it, said, very interesting interview. It is. It's a very interesting interview. It raises a lot of questions. Questions you're not supposed to ask, and those are my favorite kind. I'm not saying I agree with everything Jeffrey Sachs says, but the interview made me think, and I think it can make you think too. Again, it's the last third rail out there. It really is. The last third rail out there. So if you want to listen to a good interview this weekend, or this evening, check out that new episode from Tucker and Jeffrey Sachs. And then, after you listen to it, make your own decision about the information presented. I'm not saying believe one thing or the other. I'm just saying don't shut down a conversation because of how passionate you are about the topic. It's 11:22 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand wishing you a Merry Christmas from the entire Busy Bee family. They have deals better than cold milk and cookies this time of year. Busy Bee has a limited number of 14-SEER 1.5 to 3-ton split heat pumps for residential unit replacements for only $6,995. It includes labor, equipment, material, warranty. This system offers a great balance of energy efficiency and year-round comfort for residential homes. Or how about a $69 mainline camera inspection from Outside Cleanout or a free package upgrade for air duct cleaning? You buy that basic air duct cleaning package, they'll upgrade you to the next package level for free. For example, you buy middle tier, you get premium tier. Lastly, you can get a $500 gift card after installation of a whole home main water or drain line replacement or a whole home water or drain repipe for satisfaction guaranteed. Guys, the choice is so easy. You call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your Rude Pro partner, 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, busybeehvac.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, No open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
All right, drivers, heads up in Cedar Hill, Robertson County. Got an overturned vehicle blocking the left lane. That's going to be 24 eastbound right before Maxey Road, exit 19. And an update on the Wisconsin school shooting. The alleged Gilgo Beach serial killer charged with a 7th murder coming up at 11:30. On Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It's 11:27 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand, just getting through some of your texts. Regarding that Tucker Carlson segment we just did. He did an interview with Jeffrey Sachs. And listen, I understand Jeffrey Sachs has said spicy things in the past. And I get the criticism that he receives. But I think that the conversation is interesting and has some merit. It does. It's worth discussing. That's my opinion. And believe me when I tell you, Jeffrey Sachs has said spicy things in the past before this Tucker Carlson interview.
For example, the war in Syria. And you may actually hear from grown-up reporters who are lying through their teeth or ignorant beyond imagining that, the war in Syria, yes, Russia intervened in Syria. Well, do you know that that Obama tasked the CIA to overthrow the Syrian government, starting 4 years before Russia intervened? What kind of nonsense is that? And how many times did the New York Times report on Operation Timber Sycamore, which was the presidential order to the CIA to overthrow Bashar al-Assad? 3 times in 10 years.
You have to have that context when you're looking at what's happening in Syria now. You have to. And you look at that rubber stamp from Obama, and it's fascinating. Operation Timber Sycamore. Look into it.
This is not democracy. This is a game. And it's a game of narrative. Why did the U.S. invade Iraq in 2003? Well, first of all, it was completely phony pretenses. It wasn't, we were so wrong, they didn't have weapons of mass destruction. They actually did focus groups in the fall of 2002 to find out what would sell that war to the American people. Abe Schultzke, if you want to know the name of the PR genius. They did focus groups on the war. They wanted the war all the time. They had to figure out how to sell the war to the American people, how to scare the shit out of the American people. It was a phony war. Where did that war come from? You know what? It's quite surprising. That war came from Netanyahu, actually.
You know, listen, you can definitely go back and point out interviews of Netanyahu supporting that war. Now, again, maybe it's just a coincidence. Maybe our enemies are just Israel's enemies, and that's the way it is. And I'd be fine with that being the reason why Israel seems to always be in our corner and we're always in their corner. But it's like as soon as you start talking about these conversations, people are like, whoa, 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 don't be anti-Semitic. And I'm just saying, criticizing Benjamin Netanyahu is not criticizing the Jewish people. It's not. It's not. And when you understand that every government is susceptible to the same things that every government is susceptible to, like corruption and lust for power, you can have these conversations and not be upset. People are very upset, though, for Tucker Carlson having this guy on and platforming him. Wild. But hey, you know, do your own research and come to your own conclusions. I don't want anybody to do the thinking for you. Do the thinking for yourself. But don't shut out voices because they might have scary opinions. It's 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Abundant Life Christian School shootings update. Investigators looking into how a 15-year-old student got a gun, why she killed a teacher and a fellow student before herself yesterday.
Students at Abundant Life Christian School were preparing to go to lunch when the gunfire started, says 6th grader Alder Jen Charles.
We heard them, and then some people started crying, and then we just waited till the police came.
Officers were inside the school within 4 minutes, finding that 15-year-old Natalie Samantha Rucknow had killed a teacher and a classmate before fatally shooting herself last night in Madison. The community gathered for a vigil.
Alleged Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann charged with a 7th murder in New York today. The Suffolk County DA says they linked Heuermann to Valerie Mack's death in part through DNA analysis.
We have mitochondrial DNA from a hair that was found on the body of Valerie Mack.
DA Raymond Tierney telling reporters 24-year-old Valerie Mack had been working as an escort in Philadelphia. Her remains found several years ago in 2 different parts of Long Island, and they continue to investigate other murders. Right now in Tennessee, Governor Lee among Republican governors ready to utilize every tool in President-elect Trump's mass deportation plan.
To the degree that Tennessee participates in that, I look forward to seeing what his plans finally are going to be, and we will be supportive of the strategies of the president.
Yeah, and the Federal Reserve's interest rate decision tomorrow could affect auto loan rates. Here's Chuck Sievertson.
Edmunds, an automotive shopping research firm, says new car prices remain almost a third higher than before COVID. The average price this year has been over $47,000, about the same as last year, but 27% higher than in 2019. For used cars, the average price is $27,000, about a 5% decrease compared to last year, but 32% higher than in 2019.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 11:36 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. My name is Chris Hand. I think people are going to get tired of saying Trump was right. I'm just kidding. No, nobody's going to get tired of that. Yet here we are, once again, saying Trump was right.
Okay, Aurora, Colorado now. This is a live look now. The sun is up there in that state, and police have now detained 14 people and reported armed home invasion. That's the same apartment complex where a lot of people were complaining about the armed Venezuelan gang members roaming the halls. Reports indicate that investigators said that several suspects entered the apartment and had 2 people inside. The suspects then reportedly moved the victims to another apartment complex, or rather another unit on the property where police said they were found threatened and bound. An adult man sustained a non-life-threatening stab wound. At the moment, police say it's unclear if the suspects are connected to the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, but we'll get a live report in Colorado 30 minutes away and bring you the latest on that developing story.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm sure it's just a coincidence, and they're not associated with Tren de Aragua, right? It's only the same apartment complex where Tren de Aragua people have been detained, and they found victims tied up and stabbed. It's probably a coincidence, right? It wasn't Martha Raddatz, wasn't she? She told us it was just a handful of apartment complexes. So I thought it was all right-wing conspiracy theories and propaganda about this, right? I thought it was all fake. Are the Democrats going to have the same energy that they had trying to take away guns after the mass shooting yesterday in Madison, Wisconsin, at the school shooting? Are they going to have the same energy with this? No. Of course not. Of course not. Weird, right? What a coincidence. I'm sure it's nothing. I'm sure it's not even connected at all. But the southern border is still one of the biggest issues in the country. And Biden's trying to sell away pieces of the wall now. You got to love it. You got to love it. The Chicago mayor, Brandon Johnson, is actually on the attack against Trump and the evilness of his immigration plan. And I'd be like, hey, bro, did you hear the news about Colorado? Remember that right-wing conspiracy theory that Tren de Aragua was taking over apartment complexes? They just arrested 14 people. They found victims tied up and stabbed. You wouldn't want to deport these people? No, he doesn't. He says Donald Trump's plan to ramp up deportation is evil. It's evil. And Tom Homan and Trump, so they're saying it's going to start in Chicago. And now the Democrat mayor has appeared on CNN, the First of All podcast. This was over the weekend. And despite being asked over and over whether or not he would block Trump's deportation efforts, he refused to answer that. But he did spew a constant stream of anti-Trump rhetoric about how this was such an evil plan. And he was asked about his reaction to Tom Homan saying he's going to start in Chicago and he's going to come after you if you stand in his way. Mayor Brandon Johnson said, well, unfortunately, first of all, good morning, Merry Christmas, and Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year to the people of the globe. Thanks, Mayor. He said, look, the president-elect and the former president of the United States, Trump, has demonstrated an incredible disdain for people. And my responsibility as the mayor of Chicago is to invest in people. Get this. This is rich. He said, to protect people and connect them to the resources that are ultimately needed in order to build not just a better, stronger, safer Chicago, but to build in the economy that's sustainable. Okay. Have you seen Chicago lately, Mayor Brandon Johnson? If you want to protect people, don't you think getting out the criminal illegal aliens from your city would help towards that goal? It's wild to me. Wild. Mayor Brandon Johnson's got to be on his way out. The people of Chicago are absolutely fed up. The people of New York are fed up too, but New York's mayor is actually listening to the people while Mayor Brandon Johnson is hearing from the people. There's a bit of a difference there. And Mayor Eric Adams, he says he's not warring with Trump. This was just the other day. Not warring with Trump. He's going to be working with Trump.
Mayor, let's talk about what seems to be your sort of warming relationship with the president-elect. And I just wonder, is there a connection between your federal indictment on campaign finance fraud charges and your apparent shift towards him.
You love how that's MSNBC for you. This beta soy boy sets up the question to lead viewers to believe that the only reason Mayor Eric Adams wants to work with Trump is because he's got his own issues. Not that the city's falling apart. Not that they kicked kids out of his school to house migrants there last winter. Like, no, that's not the issue. The issue has to be your legal troubles, right?
Not at all. Listen, I did nothing wrong. I said that over and over again. I should not have been targeted in the first place. I've repeatedly stated that, and I think that we're finding out more and more some of the things that have been happening with DOJ, like putting parents on FBI watch lists for just standing up for their children. I want to be clear. I asked the current president, President Biden, to come to New York City to help me in 2022 to deal with gun violence. He arrived in the city, sat down with the police department. I met with his team several times on several initiatives. That's the same way I feel with the incoming president. Mm-hmm. I am not going to be warring with this president. I'm going to be working with this president. The American people communicated. Not only did he win the electoral vote, he won the popular vote. They sent clear messages: affordability, public safety, securing our border. And I'm going to move in a direction to bring the resources home to this city. This is not about me, Jonathan. This is about we, the people of New York City. And I'm looking forward to getting some real things done.
Yeah, but they want to make it seem like Mayor Eric Adams is only doing it because he's in trouble. But you could also make the argument that Mayor Eric Adams is only in trouble because he started calling out the federal government about the wide open southern border and the costs that these migrants and newcomers were having on New York City. Real costs. Billions of dollars. You got to love it, right? And it's not stopping anytime soon. We got, 30-ish days. We got another caravan en route. Yep. I mean, listen, they know the time is short. The cartels have already upped their prices. And we got another migrant caravan in southern Mexico. Breitbart, Texas has confirmed this report. This one has over 2,000 individuals. And the group wants to reach the U.S.-Mexico border before, wait for it, January 20th. Weird. What a coincidence. I'm sure the timing is just coincidental. I'm sure. Yep. I mean, they know what's happening. The border is going to be closed. Trump literally laid waste to Biden yesterday during that press conference saying, stop selling border wall construction materials. We're going to have to buy it back, and it's going to cost more to the American people. Trump's focus is the American people. Mayor Brandon Johnson in Chicago, his focus is on power. The Democrats, their focus is on power. And I'm sure that the Democrats would love to let in as many people as they can before January 20th to help swing that census in their favor, to help bring in some new voters. Lord knows they need them after they fell. They lost 11 million voters from 2020 to now. This past election, what a coincidence that was. Surely just a coincidence. But they want to keep letting people in. People like the Venezuelan migrant who has been charged in Texas with attempted murder after allegedly setting a house on fire with 3 kids trapped inside. These are the newcomers that they want to allow across our southern border. Gee, Mayor Eric Adams, you sure only want to work with Trump because you're in trouble? It's like, no, I want to work with Trump because you're letting violent criminals into this country. And they're terrorizing our communities from Texas to New York to Colorado to Chicago to California, everywhere. Everywhere. I mean, let's not forget, we've been dealing with illegal alien crime right here in Tennessee. I'm looking at the soccer coach in Franklin, right? Every state, city is now a border city because of these liberal leftist policies. There are some good governors fighting back, though. Glenn Youngkin out of Virginia, I love this. He says that anybody that's going to refuse to cooperate with ICE deportations, he's going to defund them in the Commonwealth of Virginia, which I love. He says, we're not a sanctuary state. Deal with it. Looking at you, Richmond. Looking at you, Charlottesville.
Well, let me begin. It's great to see that we're about to have a border czar who's actually going to do the job of being a border czar. And last week, I introduced strong legislation through our budget process that will, in fact, hold localities accountable to make sure that when there is an ICE detainer and they have an illegal immigrant who's committed a crime in custody, that they cooperate with ICE. And we have seen too many instances when we have someone who has committed a crime, who's in custody, and then they are released when there's a detainer in place to contravene the authority of ICE, and then that person goes on and commits another crime. And in fact, just recently, in February, in the city of Richmond, we had a person who was convicted of sexual assault of a minor. The person was released while there was an ICE detainer outstanding, and then ICE had to enable a hot pursuit in order to retain this person in custody that puts more people in danger.
And listen, if you're really concerned about public safety, cooperating with ICE is the best way to keep people safe. Not just the migrants, but also the police officers and the general public at large. That is the safest way to go about this. In Richmond, they let an illegal alien that sexually assaulted a minor out, and they didn't tell ICE, and they knew he had a detainer. It's absolute insanity. And Governor Youngkin says, listen, if you're going to operate that way, there's going to be some real consequences.
We had a young woman just recently in Fairfax County who was sexually assaulted, raped by someone who had 29 encounters with law enforcement and had an outstanding ICE detainer, and Fairfax County sheriffs decided not to cooperate with ICE. This has to stop. And so if you don't cooperate with ICE when there's a detainer in place, I'm going to go to work and take your funding away in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We are not a sanctuary state. We will no longer allow this to happen, and we're going to work together to make sure that we keep Virginians safe. Every state's become a border state, and I'm going to work to make sure that Virginia has the laws in place to cooperate with ICE.
I mean, I can see the headlines now. Go, Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, racist, xenophobic, madman, Trump supporter, orange man bad, all the things. But everything he's saying is common sense. We just need to get back to common sense in this country, and a lot of these problems are going to fix themselves. That's what we need to do. And he cites a couple crimes. I mean, a woman being raped, and this guy had 29 priors. He had an ICE detainer, and they let him go. That in and of itself should be criminal. They should face real repercussions for that. You let a violent offender back on the streets instead of sending him home. So caring, so compassionate. This is what they tell you. That we have no heart for these migrants. No. We have a big heart for American citizens. And anybody that's going to put American citizens at risk, put their lives at jeopardy, yeah, you can't stay. I'm sorry. We're full. You have to go home. Deal with it. But these cities, they get in the way. These cities think they know better. These cities don't care about the actual human cost of the wide open southern border at all. It's insane. But we got what? 30-ish days? It's a lot. It's a lot of days. A lot of days. Keep praying. Pray for the safety of the president-elect. And let's pray nothing crazy happens before then. We need to have these problems fixed ASAP. And I think the thing that makes me the most irate is they would be fixed so quickly if people just did their job. That's all it is. Do your job. Seriously. They won't, though, until they're forced to. It's 11:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
It's 11:55 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. I'm still confused as to why you aren't here on Mondays anymore. Murphy's in studio.
Oh, you got a gift.
I got a gift. All right, so I was
That's
getting
nice.
Dude,
Hello, by the way.
Hello. My rant pants were being pulled up as we spoke. And
as
then
I
Joan
renegotiated my contract, by the way, I said I only had to see you 3 days a week.
That's a good deal.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you went that high. So I'm doing the Madison, Wisconsin break. You know,
right.
I'm like, oh, the left and gun control. I'm starting to get heated. In pops Joan Jones with a Christmas gift and threw me completely off. I went from being angry to grateful.
That's nice.
Is that nice?
It's that time of year, right?
It is. It's festive.
It is. I mean, it's that time of year that I go back and forth between talking about Brian Wilson's retirement / Christmas party and death and mayhem in Madison, right? Yeah. It's a weird time.
It is. What you been up to, man?
I didn't know that I'd see you today.
Yeah.
I was worried that I wouldn't see you today.
Yeah, no, I'm flying out to Phoenix like soon, and then I'm going to do the show out there Wednesday and Thursday, and then we got a weekend of America Fest with Turning Point USA.
That's going to be. Is Trump coming out?
Oh yeah, Trump's going to be there. Tucker's going to be there. The whole Daily Wire roster is going to be there. I mean, just incredible speakers. You can watch the whole thing live all weekend long.
That will be very fun.
At tpusa.com.
Man, his press conference yesterday was fire. Oh, I didn't realize how much I'd missed them.
What a beast. What a beast.
Well, and everybody's doing the answer to the question about Iran, and he actually said in the answer, I didn't think it was like a beatdown. People were like, "Oh, he's a beatdown."
When they said
it was a beatdown.
They said, "What do you think about preemptive strikes on Iran?"
Yeah, but it was a perfectly reason. I mean, most people think the same thing that he said, which is, "Look, I don't blame you for asking. I suppose it's a good question, but what am I supposed to say to you?"
Yeah.
Yes? I mean, no, I'm not telling you if I'm hitting Iran.
But
it
that's so
great.
And it's so
good.
Trump, because he said on many occasions, he's like, how stupid are these people telegraphing our military moves?
Right. Well, and then the answer about the drones was absolutely tip-top.
Oh, yeah, they know.
I mean, they know. Of course they know. Do you want to live in a country where they don't know? I hope not.
No.
You know what I want to live in, though? A country where they tell us. They treat us like grown-ups.
Thank you. That's all I'm asking for.
And last night late, as I was filling in for Brian, the theory was, have you heard the nuclear materials theory?
Yeah.
I mean, that's my leader in the clubhouse.
Really?
It's my leader in the clubhouse.
See, I kind of turned that one off because 4 weeks, you don't find anything. You haven't really expanded the search.
Yeah. Do you know how bad our federal government is?
Fair.
I mean, I don't know that or aliens. I mean, when I'm weighing these two options here, I don't think it's aliens. Although,
how do you feel about interdimensional demons?
Here's the great thing: is that you start playing like 2 and then 3-dimensional and 4-dimensional and 8-dimensional chess, right? Because I heard Chad talking about this. You might have too, where he's like, "Well, why would they have like FAA approved lights on their alien craft?" And I was like, "Because that's the way aliens would roll.
100%.
That's what they would do.
100%.
They're smart enough to know what we would expect, and they would do that."
He was cracking me up. He's like, we're just a big experiment, and it's what made Jimmy Carter cry. I was like, this week on Earth, we pull a species from 20,000 planets, and we drop them in here and see what happens.
Right.
It's deer season this week on Earth.
Watch what happens on the next episode of Earth when sharks attack.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. I absolutely love the concept of simulation theory.
Yeah,
I can get into it. So I can marry simulation theory and God.
So this is another Turning Point story, and I think I've told you this before. There's a vegan that worked at Turning Point. Great guy, love the guy, but he also believes in simulation theory.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, but bro, if you believe in simulation theory, no cow was murdered, the steak appeared.
Right. There's no.
So eat meat.
This is all a simulation.
If simulation theory is like your jam, and you're also a vegan, you're just robbing yourself of the greatest part of the simulation.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. The problem that I have with really going all in on simulation theory is then the question starts, becoming, well, then why should I have morals? If it's all a simulation, then let's just screw around with the simulation.
Yeah.
And that becomes problematic when you start killing the other simulations. Right, pretty quickly.
It devolves pretty quickly. What do you got coming up on the show today?
We got Bill Haggerty coming up at 12:35. We've got Scott Desjardins coming up at 1:35 to talk both about the continuing resolution and how is it that you support Doji, but you also are going to support overspending by billions and billions and billions and trillions of dollars. We'll discuss that. And off the top, we're going to talk about some of this morning's events with the loss of Johnny B. We're going to do that in just a moment.
We love you, Johnny. If you're listening,
love you, Johnny.
He's one of the best to ever plug in a pair of headphones.
Amen. Legend. I'll have more to say about that in a moment.
Murphy's in next. It's 12 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.